Hi, my name is Sam Sloan. I've been sharing lots of hints and tips on Zoom, etc. over the last few months, and I thought I would share one in Teams this time. I seem to be getting quite a lot of people sort of asking how to share slides a bit more seamlessly in applications, etc. So I thought I would concentrate on that for this particular video. So I'm going to share with you some of the best practice things that I've kind of found. And one of the things is actually if you can have a second monitor. So the monitor that I'm sharing at the moment is my main monitor, if you like, where I can have my Teams application where I can use it and get to all of the features and the functionality depending on, of course, what it is that I kind of want to do, which is fine. However, what I've also done is set up a second monitor. I've actually got 3 monitors on this computer, but if you're working on a laptop or a desktop, you don't have to buy an expensive monitor, plug it in with a VGA or a HDMI cable, etc., and extend your monitor and your computer, because you've then got one working screen and you've then got a second screen as well where you can have all of your applications like your PowerPoint, your PDF documents, for instance, all of those types of things on a completely separate screen. And that tends to make life a whole lot easier, especially when you're delivering online. So let's have a look what it is that I mean. So I want to share my screen with you now and look at the various different sharing options that we have available to us in Teams. We have our desktop, of course, and you can see here I've got the 3 screens, so that's my OBS screen. That's how I'm recording this particular video. I've then got my PowerPoint actually open on the screen there, but there's all sorts of different applications which I'll come to you in just a second. And of course then you've got the 3rd screen, which is actually this screen here as well. I'm going to come back to those in just a second. You've then got your window, so I can actually share the inside of Teams if you like, especially if I'm doing upskilling. And then you've got all of the various different applications that I have open on my computer. I've got a whiteboard, and then also what we have on the right hand side, and I'll show you the difference when we go into share in just a few moments, is the PowerPoints. So this is actually the module that I have open already on my desktop. But actually some of these modules and some of the PowerPoints I've used throughout today. I did a webinar this morning. That PowerPoint's there. I don't have that open actually on my desktop. Interestingly, there's a mental toughness webinar there, etc. There's a coaching webinar and upskilling and all sorts of different things in there. I don't even have those open on my desktop. I've got one PowerPoint open at the moment, so it's actually saved some of the previous applications that I've opened over the last few days. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to share my screen here, because what I'm tending to find is, well actually, let's do it the way that I'm finding most people are doing it. If I share just my slide, so you'll see it go into share mode now, and what I'll do is I'll click onto the second monitor, because this is now the attendee view, if you like, in regards to that monitor. And I can flick through my slides, I can do my presentation, etc., just as you would do normally. But what if I then wanted to share something like a Google window, for instance? I wouldn't be able to do that, or a different application. I would have to go into stop share. So if I just go back into that screen here, I'd have to go back into stop share and then find the other item that I want to share. Let's just say it's this particular window here, for instance. So I'm jumping back and forwards. It's really clunky. And that's one of the things that I'm finding really quite frustrating for some of the delegates. It's kind of like, oh God, here we go kind of thing, share, stop share, that type of thing. So I tried to think about how it is that we can kind of alleviate some of that. So what I do instead, I share my screen. Got to be a little bit careful here. So things like Outlook, some documents maybe that you didn't particularly want to share because of course they were private, confidential, etc. You've got to be careful. So in other words, only have open what you need on your computer. So let's go into this particular window here. So now I'm going to share my screen. Again, I'll flick the monitor, so you're now looking at what the learners would be looking at, if you like. And of course then with this, I can share this particular window here. So if I then decided actually I wanted to go on to, let's just say, a poll, for instance, in Poll Everywhere, I can flick onto here, I can make it full screen, activate it before I do that, or even something like Jamboard, for instance, if I wanted my learners to come into this particular Jamboard, I can do that simply by just flicking between whatever it is that I've got open. And if I then want to go back to my slides, I just simply click, okay, you can see it at the bottom, but I simply click back onto the slide, and then of course that's what your learners are going to see. So you've not got the clunkiness of sharing and not sharing. Nice and simple. You can do exactly the same thing on Zoom, but of course when you do go back into, and if I just go back into this window here, when you do go back into the share icon here, of course in Zoom, it gives you the option to just reshare something else, which is fine, but it doesn't seem to do that in Teams. So I would have to come out of that share, just like I have done, and then go back into that new share. So sharing your desktop, layer what you've got on your desktop, really handy, and just then flick between them. And that's the downside of sharing the actual application. But one of the other ways that you can share as well is, like I've said, some of the things that you've shared within the day. So if I go into, well, that's in fairness the PowerPoint slide that I'm already doing, that I've already got open, but this one isn't. I don't have this open on my desktop. And when I go into present, it actually gives us a few different options here. So this is, again, a program that I've got, that I've used today, and I can navigate forwards, etc. on these toggles if I so wish to. But I don't have this particular slide deck open. So look what's happening now. It's not letting me navigate forwards. But let's just say I did. And this little eye icon here, oh, there we go, it's moving, it just takes a little bit of time. This eye icon here is actually, I don't want that video to play because it's going to be a video on the next screen. The learners can actually flick through the slides themselves as well. You won't necessarily know that they're doing that, you may well do, but to prevent that from happening, you can actually click on that little eye, and then of course the learners won't be able to flick through your slides either. Again, it's just another way of sharing. It's quite a nice way. It's a little bit more clunky, I find, this way, to be honest. I rather have the deck open on my screen, and I just tend to find that just a little bit easier to have. So let me make that a bit smaller. A little bit easier from that usability perspective. But let me just stop presenting again now and just move back to this main window where we were. Again, give it a go. Layer up those screens, share your desktop, see what difference it makes to your learners, etc. See what difference it feels to you as maybe the host, or the, I don't know, the meeting host, or the presenter, or the facilitator. But also pop into chat and let me know how it is that you get on with it and what difference it's made for you as well. Thank you.